On July 21, 1812, a Spanish army, commanded by Joseph O'Donnell, attacked the division of French General Harispe at Castalla in southeastern Spain. On October 26, 2024, our club refought this little-known battle. Come and join us to find out what happened in this forgotten battle, both historically and in the game. Not again! Hello, I'm Bruce. Welcome to the basement. For most wargamers and history buffs in the Anglosphere, the story of the Peninsular War is the story of the Duke of Wellington and his British and Portuguese troops defeating a succession of Napoleon's marshals. Or perhaps it's the story of the exploits of the fierce Spanish partisans who conducted a daring guerrilla war against the French occupiers. Or perhaps it's the story of a certain British rifleman. An often overlooked theatre of this war is eastern Spain, where Louis-Gabriel Suchet, the only French general to win his marshal's baton in Spain, held his own against the Allied armies until forced to retreat due to French defeats elsewhere. In July 1812, Arthur Wellesley, then Marquess of Wellington, asked Spanish General Joseph O'Donnell to conduct a holding action against the French in Valencia, so an Anglo-Sicilian expeditionary force under Sir Thomas Maitland could make a landing. Instead, O'Donnell decided to seize an opportunity to take the offensive against the 4,000 men of General Jean Harispe's division, with a force of over 10,000 men. Historically, the French were able to take a strong position on a ridge across the Rio Verde and destroy the Spanish infantry as it struggled up the slope with a flank charge by their cavalry. Today's battle will be different. Instead of trying to hold that ridge I talked about, that would be off the bottom end of the map, the French are tasked with capturing the village of Castalla with whatever troops can march to the table on time, against growing numbers of Spanish. Today's game is being played in my friend Rod's basement using his beautifully painted 28mm figures. Due to some last-minute cancellations among our club members for the game, I have been assigned the impossible task of being French Brigadier Delors, the commander on the spot. I don't know what I did to tick off Rod, but Rod, I'll get even with you for this. The Spanish will be played by Eric and Paul, with Paul taking the role of General O'Donnell. The rules we are using today are General de Brigade, which is the favourite Napoleonic rule set of both Rod and I. Prior to each game, Rod prepares packages for each player with the important charts and rule sections printed out and ready for quick reference. Unfortunately, like most gamers, we play with so many different rule sets that we spend a lot of time looking at these packages to refresh our aging memories. Here we see the village of Castalla, the French objective, and the famous castle.
Hi, Bruce. Are you playing with your toy soldiers again?
Oh, hi, Mrs. The Die is Cocked. I told you, we don't play with toys, they're historical miniatures.
Oh, this reminds me of our trip to Spain a couple of years ago, when you tried to get me to stop at every battlefield we drove by.
Drove by is the right phrase. We didn't stop at any of them.
There's nothing to see but grass and trees. We have those in Canada. Can I stay and watch your game?
Only if you promise to keep quiet.
Of course. You know me. I never have much to say.
As the battle begins, the French have only 1 battalion of infantry and 2 4-pounders in position. The Spanish enter the table and choose to use Castalla as cover, marching around the town instead of straight down the road into the French guns.
Why are your guys just sitting there? The Spanish guys are going to surround you.
My objective is to capture the village, so I have to hold until my reinforcements come up.
Well, how many guys are you getting? And where are they coming from?
Rod hasn't told me yet. The battle begins as the Spanish advance against my lone battalion. I look nervously over my shoulder for my reinforcements. As you can see from the map, I am badly outnumbered. In the distance, I think I see clouds of dust. The Spanish close in as the French and Spanish trade volleys.
Ooh, Rod is a much better painter than you are.
Hey! In the distance, the French reinforcements begin to arrive.
That's it? Those are your reinforcements? What did you do to tick off Rod?
I know, right? That's what I said. More and more Spaniards arrive on the table, advancing all along the front. But like the god of battle, I stand firm. The Spanish come at me again and again, but each time I throw them back. How about it, Mrs. The Die is Cocked? Do I not look like a god?
Sure, if there are any chubby, balding gods.
Eric's Spaniards throw everything they have at me. But unfortunately for Eric, that includes snake eyes. Back they go, which does not impress Paul. At long last, help arrives for Delors' beleaguered brigade in the form of a regiment of French dragoons. Unfortunately, they are arriving from the opposite end of the table, a long ways away.
Do you think they can reach you in time? How much horsepower does a horse have, anyway?
The French infantry continues to hold, but there aren't quite as many of them as there used to be. More and more Spanish reinforcements arrive on the table. They occupy the medieval castle of Castalla, which the French dragoons must pass to reach the battlefield. By now, the lone French battalion is in serious trouble. Badly shot up, and with the reinforcements still a long ways off, they have held their position almost as long as they can. And Eric is now able to use his superiority in numbers to encircle the French position.
Look, you're surrounded. I told you this was going to happen. You never listen to me.
It's not that bad.
Oh, yeah? Look at this map I just drew. You are completely surrounded. I hope you're happy with yourself.
To be fair, I was expecting to get a steep ridge to defend.
What did you do to Rod?
As the Spanish dragoons charge the French guns and the French infantry falls back in disorder, 2 troops of the 13th Cuirassiers, the only Cuirassier unit to serve in Spain, and 2 companies of infantry finally cross the Rio Verde to join the battle. The French infantry fails morale and retreats to the river. The Spanish dragoons on the flank prepare to charge, but are themselves charged by the valiant Cuirassiers. Though the Cuirassiers save the infantry from the dragoons, I roll snake eyes on my morale check, and the unit is removed from the table. With the French dragoons a long ways away, only a handful of French troops remain on the battlefield. Eric is quite pleased with his position. Finally, in a case of too little too late, Rod arrives with 2 French battalions and 2 guns. He prepares to hold the river line against Eric's forces. The Spanish move to eliminate the remaining French troops to the east of the river. Badly outnumbered, the French cannot hold, and even the Cuirassiers are defeated in combat by Eric's dragoons. Meanwhile, the French dragoons finally pass the Castillo de Castalla. Will they reach the battlefield in time?
It doesn't matter. The Spanish will just form square. There's nothing cavalry can do against a formed infantry square.
At last the dragoons arrive. However, the Spanish form square.
I told you so.
It's a real Mexican standoff.
How can you have a Mexican standoff in Spain?
Rod's French battalions and Eric's Spanish stare at each other across the river. Eric wants to attack, but Paul overrules him. The Spanish have held Castalla, which was their objective, and the French lack the strength to take it. And so the game ends. The French have, finally, managed to form something of a line across the battlefield, but they are outnumbered by the Spanish, who hold a strong position in and around Castalla. The Spanish have pulled off a victory, and the French army, tired and hungry, must withdraw.
Hungry? You were all munching on pretzels the whole game.
An army marches on its stomach, my dear.
Then you guys can all march a long way.
And now, some thoughts from today's victors. But first, I'd like to thank Mrs. The Die is Cocked for joining me today, and for keeping her promise to stay quiet and not say anything.
Well, I just thought you could use a little bit of help.
We were constrained. Our hands were tied behind our back.
Once I gained proper control over my subordinates, the battle went according to plan and resulted in a glorious victory for the Spanish. Viva España!
I think I found that ridge that Rod forgot to give me. Now I'm going to go give it to him. In the meantime, I hope I'll see you next time in the basement, and until then, may your dice always roll true.